Good morning. Welcome to another video. Thanks for coming back or clicking if you did. In this strange new world we live in where we talk to strangers. No idea whatsoever who will receive. So this morning I'm thinking about Russel Brand because he was on Tucker Carlson podcast recently, and how he seems to have a grasp on Jesus. And Russel Brand has been a strange part of my spiritual journey for the last how many ever years, and maybe yours. Maybe you don't like him. It's always interesting to watch someone go from hedonism to, grace, as it seems to be. But I remember, what movie he was in. There was so many. Get Him to the Roxbury. That was the movie. And in that movie, there was a bunch of, for me, and probably others, cues, symbolism, metaphors that was part of the kind of updating of spiritual beliefs, if you will. He said something about space Jesus. And at the time I was trying to make sense of space Jesus. And by that I mean life beyond the dome. Life beyond the dome, and understanding of, when you grow up hearing about apocalypse and hearing about Armageddon, the fall of angelic forces to earth, and this great reckoning that happens, coupled with, just like random evil acts, right? So, what is, for me, my understanding of, demonic and evil is this kind of cavalier disregard for a life that can contain intelligence at the capacity, and not just contain intelligence, but communicate, create because of, cooperate. To take that level of intelligence and disregard it is an act of evil, essentially. It's the thing that we try to fight against within ourselves, knowing we can be better to ourselves, like good to ourselves, peaceful, less suffering, but also knowing the capacity to suffer, knowing the capacity to pain, to not infuse others with that is like a kind of just rite of passage. And if you don't pass it, you kind of get stuck, left behind. The tropes are all there for a reason. I don't think things are, I don't think a lie, like if you think of Thich Nhat Hanh, and one of his, best lessons that he tried to impart was about interbeing. And if you understand the nature of evil and what its purpose is, then you can understand the nature of good. I'm not one of those people who are like, oh, you wouldn't know that good exists if you didn't know that evil exists. I don't agree with that at all. And it is a ridiculous statement. Nonetheless, there, in this realm, from this level of intelligence, there is a component of interbeing where the self, the big self, and the little self are enmeshed in a way that is not a singularity. It's not. We're not in a singularity. We are in a delayed fractal. So from that space, we have, the forces of selfishness and confusion that it brings. Because where there is selfishness, there is judgment. And it is in that state that there is corruption. I think that's the whole idea of Jesus, is this representation of complete and utter selflessness. So if you were an all-knowing, all-powerful being and you willfully let yourself be murdered, the message is pretty clear. It's a one and done, because it isn't something that any other rational being should ever do. You should never lay your life down for people who want to go do bad things to kids. You shouldn't do that. You shouldn't be asked to. So the concept of finding redemption from other people's motives and a freedom from other people's selfishness. All of our negative thoughts have an energy to them. All of our selfish thoughts have an energy to them. And that energy can be moved just like wind can be moved. I read a book recently by Edward Ashton, who is my favorite author right now. And the book was about an alien invasion, because he likes to do the space stuff. Long story short, an alien invasion and genetic manipulation of humans into bondsmen, bondservants. Oh, there's a cardinal out there. And the feral humans who tried to survive. And it just struck me as like, sometimes it feels like we were genetically altered to be selfish. Because it isn't really logical to be constantly at war with each other when we do so well, when we cooperate. Competitiveness and judgment and all of these things, they seem unsolvable. And now you've added this tool of competition, the tool of algorithmic and technological advantage, so that we don't know the extent of intention, right? That you code a machine to increase your bottom dollar. Give it a simple, uninformed directive to increase your bottom dollar. The ripple effect of that, if you're living in cause and effect and a time limiter, 90 years, let's say, and it isn't, has no concept of time. That's just like the basic mistake that everyone coding AI is missing. It has no concept of time. Not like we do, not even a little. The impact of that on all of our institutions and social structures. So, yes, Jesus, the story of Jesus, the understanding of Jesus has great metaphor for a soul. It has great freedom from a ridiculous request of a purity that we could never, while trying to stay alive, meet. You cannot maintain life and ethics and perfection. It would require judgment that we're not capable of engaging in. It's just logic. I forgot where I was going with that. I totally did. Well, the whole thing I was thinking about this morning, honest to God, is like, why did I sit and look at my pain so ferociously, and now I'm stuck in this apartment, townhome, which is sinking. And now I'm the enemy because I noticed it. And it's just like this fractal reflection of my life. And trying to get peace, like, man, 12 years really, my whole life, but 12 years hardcore trying to find a tribe where I had some peace in my home life, where I wasn't under constant threat of either take on a role that doesn't feel, it not even doesn't feel good, but doesn't get you anywhere. I'm feral, right? I'm feral human. Watching how people's selfishness gets turned into palpable energy that influences us, reflected back, moved around. I don't believe in demons in the way that they're talked about, in terms of like this battle with God or with each other. Some angels fought with some other angels, and then a bunch of them got cast out of heaven. In the way that it's talked about. So I like to look at these things in by way of physics, by a lesson in physics. And you are either whole or you are part. And when you are part, the degree to which you are can create like a black hole reflection, a selfishness that is a lie. And those are big, huge forces, right? And the undoing of the big, huge lie of selfishness is an act of non-selfishness, which in itself can be labeled selfish because it fixes things. And so a paradox is created. And paradox is the most important physics a human could grasp. I think when I started my third spiritual journey, and everyone else did too, you know, everybody and their grandma was a tarot reader and a psychic and prophet and a starseed and a light worker, but they were all competitive. And so anybody who had genuine gifts, abilities, directives, had to also compete while being wrangled by an algorithm owned by those with an agenda. influenced by this coding we don't understand that exists outside of our concept of time. Why is everybody lost? And more importantly, how do you overcome it? I think everyone's too tired. Anyways, I think it's cool that we can watch people go from kind of this glorification of hedonism, which nobody is above, to be clear. Nobody's above it. Not everybody has access or ability to engage, but I don't think anyone's actually above that. And having been exposed to it and then choosing contrary to it is a strange initiation that allows you to, in the same way that PTSD is a strange initiation, to feel bliss from God alone, from your spirit alone, after having been exposed to other choices such as pain, suffering, or hedonism. It's like how angels come back to God. So if you got that whole thing, I'm still looking for my tribe. And then from that space, that tribal connectedness, which holds a whole framework, right? A whole new, what's the word I'm looking for? Potential has to be seeded, right? And that requires a network of spirit. And because we're doing this so silently, so separate, it can be confusing, like hiding in the caves because we're feral.